I'm sure, like me, you've found yourself saying, you know, I should do this, but I just don't have time. Whether it's you or me, what I've learned is that it's not about time. We only have 24 hours. You can't change that. Every second that's gone, it's gone forever. But it's about priorities. And the question I have to ask you is, Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and the other titans of business get a lot more done in any given day than you and I do. The question is why? Well, my experience has been your business will be stuck as long as you don't free up your time and work on priorities that are going to help that. In my experience, when you free up your time and when you change your priorities, what happens is your business grows because you grow. And nothing happens in the business until you change. So let me give you an example, because you know, when I talk about priorities, for most of us it's difficult to figure out what that means. Many years ago I had a garden, and when I first planted it, I rather enjoyed spending the time in the evening to water everything here in Southern California. And so I'd spend about an hour watering it. And I did this for several months, and then, you know, what initially started out to be a chance to reflect and have some fun became another chore, became a burden. It wasn't easy anymore. And I began to look around, how can I fix this particular problem? My neighbor had a sprinkler system, so I went down and talked to him. I said, well, you know, tell me a little bit about what you did. And I was astounded as how simple it was, and because we have automation, I could get it to work on its own. So that weekend I spent about 4 hours and I put in this system, and I haven't had water since. Now the neat thing about that is that that freed up an enormous amount of my time, and it was unexpectedly easy to do. And when we shift our priorities, it's amazing how we can open up opportunities for ourselves that we hadn't even understood were there, but it was significant. Let me give you another example of an associate of mine, George Tillery, who I got to know, who had a very successful business. And at 45, he wanted to shift his priorities. He realized that at 45, unless he found somebody to take over the business or run without him, if something happened to him, the whole business would fail. And not only with that, but he had a lot of people who were dependent on him for their income, employees, etc. And so he made sure first that the business could run without him, and then he set about to find himself a replacement, a president who could take over the business so he could focus on other things that were important in his life. It took him about a year to get that done, but that was an important focus for him. And the person who he brought in was able to grow the business by 200%. That's an example of how shifting priorities can have a huge impact on your business and on your life. Well, I've given you two examples, but I think what I want to do is help you illustrate or understand a little bit more about how to apply them in your business. That's been my experience. It's one thing for us to talk about this, it's a whole different thing to do it. Stephen Covey had a matrix that I thought was very helpful to me, and it will probably be helpful to you as well. Basically, what he said is that you have to look at your business as having either urgent things or not urgent things that we have to get at. And we all know what that's all about. It's like the person who runs in the room and says, oh my God, I just can't believe Johnny said this to me, which is urgent, but really not very important. Then you have other things, a shipment that has to go out tonight, absolutely positively. It becomes both urgent and important because it's related specifically to your business survival. If you don't get it out, it's really, really difficult to be able to continue to move forward. And our days are typically spent working on things that are urgent and important. The challenge that I find is that there is an awful lot of time that's spent on things that are urgent but not important, like the illustration I gave about the girl coming in. And for us, as we're looking at this, when I look at what I did in the garden, it was important that I water every day. It was urgent that I water every day, but I was able to plan and think about an alternative that would free up my time. That is important, but not urgent. And the challenge that I run into as I work with people inside of businesses, they don't quite get the difference between the two. Planning, vision, where you're going are things that are important, but typically because our day is spent fighting fires, getting things done, handling problems, we don't focus on. And when we get home at night, we're exhausted. So unless you think in advance how to do that, you're going to get stuck. And there are only 4 things you want to be able to do in your business. First of all, you want to care for your customers. Are you doing as much as you can? Are you contacting them? Or are you busy sitting around dealing with the problems that are not important? The second thing is you have to learn and grow, and that starts with you as the owner. If you don't learn and grow, nobody else is going to learn and grow. And part of that is your priorities, getting them right. Third is having processes in place. And the example I gave you was the sprinkler system for my garden. For George, it was, I need to have this company run without me. And then finally, the last thing is the value in the business. The more you can extract yourself from the business, free up your time, and free up yourself from the business, the more valuable the business becomes. In fact, the day your business can run without you is the day it doubles in value.